friends! Hey, what's going on? I hope you're doing super fantastically amazing. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and painting this really small and spooky and simple painting with me today. These little ghosties in the woods. And I just really appreciate anybody showing up to do this with me. So thanks in advance. I'm going to set this up like a family paint night. So this is something that we can absolutely do with anybody in our family, including the kids, and getting all set and ready for Halloweeny spooky season. So I hope that you're ready for it. And when I mean simple, it's really, really simple. Let me show you. So we have only two colors, black and white. And I have my just regular paintbrushes, but honestly, you can use whatever paintbrushes that you want. My go-to are the Big Fat Fatty McFatterson flat head brush. I have my 1/2-inch flat head brush, and I have my long liner brush, but any kind of little liner brush with a point on the end will do. I'm going to say 90% of this painting is going to be done with my big brush, but you know, I might pop over and use the little ones as needed. We are going to be using a lot of water in this painting, so make sure you have a cup of water and, you know, a couple extra napkins too. I have like an extra kind of some old napkins here just in case I have to sop up some water on the sides. I'm going to be using this 9x12 piece of watercolor paper, but you're more than welcome to use whatever you have, whatever kind of paper. I do suggest using a thicker paper because we are doing a lot of water in this painting, but a canvas will work, Bristol paper, even if you have a mixed media pad, that should work pretty good. And I do have my trusty, rusty blow dryer on hand just to make the process a little quicker, but you really don't need it. As long as you have patience, you should be able to get through this with me. Okay? So go gather your supplies, gather the family, sit around and get creative with me. We'll get started in a second. Okie dokie smokies. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put white on one side of my plate, and I'm going to put black on the other side of my plate because, because I'm going to want to use like all the rest of the plate for either some gray or some watery gray or like a little water pool. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fill our background with lots of watery gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my big fat brush and I'm going to make a pool of water right here in between my two paints. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put 5 big drops of water there, and I'm going to grab a little white and tap it in, start making it change in the colors, and I'm going to grab a tiny little bit of black and I'm going to start to make some gray. And see how liquidy that is? That's kind of how I want the whole background to be, all liquidy. So you're going to find that I'm going to keep digging into my water cup and making a little pool here and adding in colors as I need them. And my goal is to have it a little bit lighter at the top and a little bit darker at the bottom. That doesn't mean that's going to happen all in one step, but that's what I'm going to try and go for as best as I can right now. So I'm going to grab all of this weird watery gray. I like to scribble it around, but when I grab water from my cup, it helps me it starts to swirl and twirl away from my brush, and that's kind of the background that I want. So I'm going to start filling this up, grab a little water, grab a little gray, start filling in my background. And like I said, I want to have some darker areas too, so I'm going to darken up this gray a little bit as I move down. And see how that kind of like started to expand? See how it's expanding because of the water? That's kind of what I want. So that's why I keep grabbing some water and letting the two color or all the colors kind of expand together. And it kind of takes away any kind of really harsh brush strokes that we have. So every time I grab water and bring it over here, it's gonna kind of marble together and make these really cool patterns in the background. Ooh. I almost took black and put it straight on my canvas. So I'm just adding a little black as I go down the canvas into my little pool there. And I'm just gonna fill it up. Now I want it to be a little bit darker on the side, so I can pull up some of my dark gray on the sides, swoop it on the bottom, pull it up, and just making sure that I have all of my little parts of my canvas filled in. So making sure all the white parts are all gone. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little extra water. Now there's a lot of water on my canvas right now. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to make you listen to it, but I am going to grab my blow dryer and blow dry this. So what's cool about blow drying is that we can kind of manipulate it a little bit, and when it dries, we can see all sorts of really cool line work happening in the background. So take a minute, just fill it up, and you can either keep it wet and let it dry on its own. If you want it to dry a little faster, you can always sop up some of the extra with some extra paper towels. So like I have this big pool here. I can just kind of like suck it up with a paper towel and let it fill in on its own. That kind of helps the process a little bit. But for now, I'm going to grab my hair dryer and I'm going to blow dry it up. Sweet. So I don't know if you watch, but you can see how it dried, and it dried all kind of marbly and it already looks so spooky already. And speaking of spookiness, I have a question for you, and not just a question, maybe more of a quiz, not a quiz, just general inquiry. And maybe we can share this as a family or share this with whoever we're with. I would love to know what your top 5 spooky movies are of all time. What are your top 5 spooky movies? Maybe this is something we can discuss with our families. Now, I have always loved scary movies. But I think for me, it was always, as a kid, it's something that we would do at sleepovers and stuff. So it was always kind of settled in as like a fun thing for me. So I always kept it fun. Now that I'm older, I do realize that maybe I know there's a lot of people that like scary movies and stuff, but it really is way more fun to share with somebody than to watch scary movies alone. I don't like doing it alone, and I tried a couple times, but none of my family members want to watch scary movies with me anymore. So for me, I just really hope that you have some family members that really like to watch them, if you do too. It's a really fun shared experience. Maybe you should put one on right now while we're all painting this painting together. But as we move forward, okay, so now I'm going to want to make this darker, but I'm going to do that a little bit after I start to put my trees on this canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my brush a little rinse, and I'm going to use my big old brush to make these trees in the background. Now, you don't have to use a big brush, but you can use a really flat head brush, whether it's big or small. And as long as you can kind of smoosh your bristles together. If you look at my bristles, they're nice and put together. It's nice and thin at the top. And this is a perfect opportunity for me to put my brush straight on the canvas and pull upwards and make some cool trees in the background. So I'm going to grab a little water and I'm going to grab a little black. And as I'm putting my black on my brush, I like to pull away from my paint because I still like to smoosh those bristles together. See, I'm like smooshing it together. Now you can totally have some water in there at the same time, but it doesn't have to be as watery as the background, okay? So like I said, I'm going to put my brush straight on the canvas, and as I pull up, I kind of fling off the top of the canvas, and then I get these cool little points at the top. So just using that bottom bristle of my brush allows me to make these cool lines here. And I'm just gonna keep kind of making some cool little tree lines, and forests are really messy, and they're all kind of like, you don't really know where one tree starts and one tree ends. So don't overthink it. Just have fun adding these really creepy, like big sticks to the side of our canvas. So You don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. I just want you to keep making lots of like, we make a long branch up or trunk, and then we're gonna branch off and make all sorts of little branches in between here. Now, as I start to move towards the middle, I want to have a little bit more of a free space in the middle. So I'll start to kind of shorten them up as I move towards the center of my canvas, but I'm not overthinking it. I'm not thinking exactly where these trees are going to go. I'm just adding these little sticks. If you're having any issues using your big wide brush, honestly, please go ahead and use a liner brush. It's all good by me. You do not have to use the exact same brushes that I'm using. I just get used to using certain brushes, as I'm sure you do too, right? So I'm just gonna keep kind of working my way towards the center, and I'm gonna add a couple trees in the middle here, but I'm not really gonna fill the whole middle with trees. Now, once I have a good kind of balance on each side, I'm just gonna make some extra branches and pull them up and off the canvas. I'm gonna make sure that it looks really, really thick in the woods here. And I think that's good for now. But like I said, I'm gonna wanna darken up that background a little bit, right? Because see how much spookier this side looks over here? Right now, we're looking a little thin over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a bunch of water and add it in with my black, just like I did for my pool over here. And I'm gonna start to kind of pull some dark strokes up and in front of my trees. Now what's gonna happen is that my trees are still gonna pop through. I'm still gonna see the black trees, and this is gonna look a little bit more gray in the end, but it's gonna look really dark and spooky as well. So you can take a little extra water to kind of pull, just like we did in the background, to kind of let that water seep all around and get dry in the background, but you can still see all of those creepy dark trees that we just made. Now, as I'm adding this on, my paper's getting really watery again. So this is a great opportunity for me to grab my blow dryer again and just give it one more dry. And as I'm drying it up, as everything's getting blown off the table, I'm gonna try and use my blow dryer to blow all of this water that's here up into my painting up here. All right, maybe just a little bit more. A little more spookier than the last one. Okay, I'm gonna leave it be, and I'm gonna blow dry this up, and we can check out what it looks like after. Nice. How cool does that look already? It's so crazy how good this looks. Now, you get to decide if you want to put any more detail into it. For example, like if you wanted to, bring any trees forward and darken them up, you can always like go over them a little bit more too. You don't have to do this all in one fell swoop like I have. There's a few steps that you can take to make more branches, make it a little darker. But honestly, I'm happy with the level of darkness on this painting. Now, while you guys finish that up, I'm going to go through my top 5 all-time favorite horror movies or thriller movies. I've never really been one for like the yucky thrasher movies or anything that is really gory. I'm like totally a paranormal kind of movie person. So I love Poltergeist. I really like any of the Freddy Krueger movies. I really think they're really, really well done. I also thought the Paranormal Activity movies were very scary, very scary. And ooh, the Amityville Horror, that was a crazy scary movie as well. I always like it when they leave things up to the imagination. I don't really like to see it all. I want to like kind of pretend to see it all, you know? And is that 4 or 5? And I have to say my 5th movie, I'm going to have to think about it for a minute. I'll be back. Okay, so let's get some ghosts on here. And for my ghosts, I'm going to use my medium flathead brush to do this. And they're so simple. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to take some white, just some straight up white, and I'm going to make my ghost head. All right, so you can put it anywhere on the bottom here, anywhere where it's kind of dark. So I just take my brush and I make like an upside down U for this guy's head. And I start to color in the top of his head. Now, I'm just going to use the very side edge of my brush, and I'm going to start to just pull down one way and kind of start to shape my ghosts. Like that. I'm not going to go the whole way, just kind of pull down each side. And I'm going to start to take a little water with my brush, and I'm going to drag down the rest of this white here. Now, I don't want it to be white the whole way down, so I'm going to take off some of the paint off my brush, and I'm going to start to fill it in with white, but I'm going to leave a little bit open for the imagination down here. Something like that. Now you can go back in and add a little bit of extra detail. If you grab a little bit more white with your brush without any extra water on it, you can do a little squiggle over here, like there's some folds in the sheets, or like a little bit up the center to make it look like there's some, you know, see-through little folds in your ghost here. If it ever looks like it's too much, you can grab just a little bit of water and smooth it out. And I'm just going to make sure that that top part is nice and white, so I'm just going to get a little bit more paint up at the top. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do. Now, any point in your ghost that you want a little less see-through, you can always take away some of that paint, or a little more see-through, I meant to say, just by kind of pulling it off with your dry brush. I don't have any paint or any water on my brush. I kind of dry it off, kind of like a sponge. You can make a few little strokes in there to make it look like a sponge, or make it work like a sponge, I meant to say. All right. And if you want to make like a family of ghosts, you can put a mommy, daddy ghost, a little baby ghost. And that's what I did here. So for my baby ghost, I just made a little smaller one. So I put his little head on, and I'm going to start to even out the sides. Now on this guy, I gave him a couple cute little arms. So right when I start to pull down on the side, I just give him a little arm on each side, and then continue his little body after. Then I'm going to grab some water with my brush, and I'm going to start to pull down that paint into his little ghostly body. And that's it. If you want to get that definition in there, you just grab a little extra white and trace up the sides. Make sure that his head is nice and white. I kind of lost the shape of his head here, so I'm just gonna... There we go. And voila! We have a couple little ghosts. And last but not least, I just take the very, very pointy end of my liner brush here. I'm going to put a tiny little bit of black on it. And I'm going to make his eyes kind of, so one's going to be a little higher than the other, just so that it looks like he's looking down at his little baby that's looking up. So that eye is going to be a little higher than this eye here. And there we have it. We've got two adorable little ghosties ready to haunt the woods. And at any point, if you want to add any extra details, you can add more white into your ghost. You could take away some of the white to make it look darker or more see-through. But using that water to kind of marble in some of the different tones of your white definitely ends up looking really cool when it dries. So if you take a little extra water and just pop it in there, it's going to dry like really, really, really like marbly like the background, but it's going to make your ghost look even more apparition-y, because that's a word. There we go. All right. And voila. We have some ghosts in the woods. Now, I would love to see your versions of these ghosts. I'm just going to fix up as I chat. I'm still kind of hunting in my head what my last favorite all-time scary movie is. I don't know if I'm going to be able to think about it because I have too much in my brain right now. How about I keep you posted on that? Now, once you are completely finished with your painting, congratulations. It was so short and so sweet, but man, look how fun that is. You can take your paintbrush or a marker or whatever you want and just put your little signature on it. I'm going to put a little JR that's connected down to the bottom of his cloak here. And take the tape off to see how this looks. And there you have it, a spooky Halloween painting. And with that said, Halloween. The Halloween movies, actually, number one is for sure my favorite. And I do like the end ones where Jamie Lee Curtis is really trying to get rid of him in the end. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope this was just like a fun little project for you. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot to put the moon in. What the heck, Julie? Okay, let's do it. So anywhere in the middle here, anywhere where you have some space that's not on top of a tree, I'm gonna grab some white, and just with my brush, I just grab a little bit of white. You don't need a whole lot. Pick a spot. I'm gonna pick right here, and I'm gonna put a moon right in the middle. I just twist my brush in a circle. And then color it in. And the more round I want it to be, the bigger it gets. It was totally fine, and I just had to keep doing it. There we go. Get a little moony in there. There we go. Now it's extra super creepy. All right, guys. Don't forget your moon. And I hope you have the raddest time trick-or-treating this year and spending that awesome time with your family. I really appreciate seeing you and being with you, and I can't wait to see your painting. So please, please, please take a picture and post it in the Julie's Paint Party public Facebook group so we can all see how amazing you are. And I'll see you soon, all right?